Hi, I'm Ed Parcaut, your host of Inner Edison. And what I'd like you to take away from today's show is our greatest growth comes from our greatest failures. I'll bring you guests to tell their business journey and guests to help you avoid some failures, but not all of them. We need some growth. And today's guest is no different. He's had his, I'm sure, ups and downs, and his name is Rob Anspach. Doing the best I can, and Anspach Media. Let's welcome him and get to know his story. Rob, thanks for being here. From going forward, I'm just going to say Rob.
That's fine. That's all I expect. But I like the intro. We talk about failures.
Right.
My very first business. When I started a long time ago in a galaxy far away, I created this video photography business. And let's talk about crash and burn. I took out a loan about $10,000, and this was back in 1988, 89.
So that'd be like 100,000 today with the inflation.
Yeah, and brought on a partner, and the partner was very good at technical. Think he couldn't sell for crap, and I didn't know anything about marketing at the time, and after about 6 months, I'm paying back these loans, and he's skipping town with half the equipment, and I keep getting these phone calls from angry customers. Hey, where's our video? Where's this? Where's that? I have no idea what's going on, and the bad thing is that I borrowed money from a relative to get things started, so I had to pay them back, and it was just one of those things where it was a life lesson, but it was a very hard, expensive lesson because I still didn't learn how to do marketing at the time.
I know, but you have a marketing company now, so you're big.
I do, but it took a long time to get to that point, and so it took me another 6 more years before I created another business, but I did it on my own. I created a carpet cleaning business and had that for 19 years. But the first 3 years, again, I knew how to clean carpet, but I had no idea the marketing side. And it was 1998. I received a kind of a flyer in the mail. It was from Joe Polish, Piranha Marketing out in Arizona. And I'd never been to Arizona and didn't know anything about Joe Polish. But I decided, you know what? I had to do something because I was about 6 minutes away from bankruptcy. And so I took a chance and I flew out to Arizona and discovered that, all the different secrets that I could have been using to market my business. And a lot of it was common sense, and I had no idea.
So have you been to? You brought up Joe Polish, and because I know that Steve just spoke at his event that he just had in Arizona. Do you still do anything with them?
No, I haven't done anything with Joe for a long, long time. Now, Joe's brother Tony Polici is one of my best friends, and
Oh, really?
I helped Tony with his book, his copywriting book, and we published that a couple years ago, and now it's listed as one of the top 100 copywriting books of all time to read, and I think it's number 11. So that's pretty exciting stuff, and my marketing business, I think, really took a turn in 2012 when one of the pieces that I created won an award for, and I think that solidified me and my confidence to go full time teaching marketing and get rid of the cleaning business, and I think sometimes we need those winnable moments.
Mm-hmm.
Failure can teach us a lot of stuff, but when we don't get recognized by our peers, when we don't get these awards, it doesn't give us that momentum to keep going forward.
So with that, I mean, because I'm told all the time, anytime you get awards, you're supposed to post it everywhere and say all this stuff about you. And I'm like, God, I don't, I mean, it's like, I don't like, I mean, I call it bragging, whatever you want. I'm used to just being humble, but it's amazing. People just don't know.
Right.
Right.
And
Because 2 years running, I'm like the top 1% in the United States of mortgage people. And do I tell everybody? No. But
no, in fact, I don't think I've seen you brag about it at all.
no, I posted it
But
I took a picture, surprised the first year, and then I did it again, and then I put a picture. Looks like I did it again, and someone says, "Oh, it's Britney Spears." Was that you? Probably made that post because that's something you would do. What people don't realize is Rob is how you should be. You should be yourself. I read his posts all the time, going, that's just I couldn't have done that. But one of your recent posts was about when the guy was telling you about getting an electric vehicle, and you told him, have you seen what the batteries to get the stuff to make the batteries does to unite in the environment? And he's like, you're just full of it. See, they don't. That's one of the biggest headaches. And I did a live today, which was by the end of summer, house sales are going to drop by 25%. Right? That's a headline. I stole that headline from somebody else who put it out there, who said, maybe if this happens or that happens or this happens. I said, yes, it's going to happen because we don't have the inventory, period. We don't have the inventory. We're 12% lower last year than the year before. They're definitely going to be 25% lower this year because there's just less people selling homes when we're at a 2% interest rate. And now the interest rates are 4 to 5. It's just logic.
Yeah. And, one of the things about, kind of what I do differently is I'm not out to win friends and influence people. And I know that's contrary to what they teach you in a lot of the guru schools, but
I think that was a book, actually.
Yeah, it was. But my books right now are basically anti that.
Right.
The whole Rob versus series of books is it's just me sharing conversations that I've had with stupid people, and they get laughs, and they people are like, wow, this is great. Oh, can you help me do this marketing? Can you help me do this? And they remember these conversations, like you just shared the EV story. Is people are just they pop into my Facebook and Messenger, and they're just completely random people. Some of them I know, some of them I don't know, and I'm like, so it's just my interaction dealing with them. Sometimes it's really funny, sometimes it's sarcastic.
It's
Sometimes
both all the time. It's both.
sometimes I can be a real asshole to them, but
Yeah.
just sharing those out, and they become stories. And I think people right now, we need laughter. We need kind of that disruption in our day. And but it's the world. The world has kind of it's gone all twisted, and you got people screaming, "Hey, I need diversity and inclusion and equality," and I don't want to go all
Woke.
politically correct on this, but sometimes all you need is some laughter.
Yeah. And I agree, because right now, if you look at if you turn on the news channel, you're gonna hate what's going on. I do radio, as you know, and other stuff, so I deal with that on a weekly basis. And then sometimes I fill in for a show, and then they want me to go 5 days a week now, full time, and I'm like, going, that's a lot of work to go 5 days a week. Plus, I have to look at all the negativity in order to get people to call in and get them upset to call in and get that reaction, which is not what I do on my normal radio show, Real Estate Jerky. So I don't want to do that. So I understand what you're saying, and people need to connect with you somehow. And that's why I was saying you are who you are, and that's how you're supposed to be. The moment you start telling people who you really are, you're going to attract the right people, and you're going to have the haters, but you're not going to be successful until you have haters. You have to have haters and be okay with that.
Yeah, right? And that's the hardest thing I think most entrepreneurs, or anybody in general, have a hard time with, is the whole haters. And Google and Facebook and everybody else has made it so easy for people to give you reviews that don't even come from customers.
No.
And they're slamming you, and, oh, I tried to call, but you don't answer your phone. And now it becomes a 1-star review, and you can't get rid of it. And you're like, who is this joker? I always tell people, don't worry about your reviews. The haters are going to do whatever they're going to do. Just go about your day, and fill the day with your own personality, your own stuff. And people just, I think they have a hard time being themselves. they want to paint that pretty picture of themselves on Facebook, and it's not always that way.
Yeah, well, I do lives on there. You can figure out how ugly I am, and I half the time I don't shave because I don't care, right? It's like I do wear a black T-shirt all the time. I did learn that one because I got tired of changing shirts, right? In between, like I got 5 different things today because I didn't do that one time. I did, like you did batch podcasting. I did over a 3-day period, or I did one day 5 different Inner Edison episodes, right? So for the, in 3, it was like 6 weeks later, it was like the same shirt, the same, you know what I mean? And it was not just a black T-shirt. You could read different names on it. And I was like, okay, I got to stop doing that. And that's why I understood why people in what we do wear black T-shirts, because nobody knows when you did it if all you do is wear black T-shirts. My wardrobe change now is my hat.
Yeah, I was wearing a hat for a while, then I decided to get a haircut, and then it just made it too short. And I'm thinking I'm bringing back the hat.
I just thought you were trying to imitate Mohawk Matt.
Yeah, I still have too much hair for that.
Yeah, but today, and since we're you're a media company, and what we're talking about is just being who you are and focusing on that. And for a lot of people, it's hard for them to actually do what we do, which is get on here and talk in front of a camera and just talk and not care. And that's what's, we used to be live on my radio show, and that's, people were freaked out to do it, right? And then now it's recorded and edited, and then I bring them in the following Tuesday or Thursday, and we do a live on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube from the radio show. And now they're really freaked out because that's like everybody can talk to them at that time. But I enjoy that. That's, you find out who people will watch it, or they'll watch it later, or they just scroll through the little bit of it. And you want to get that information out there and find out who you are, so people know who you are, and not it's so much easier now to get that out there.
Yeah, 10 years ago when YouTube was in its infancy, we would just pull out our cameras and make these quick videos and pop them up. And I think the first 100 videos I made sucked, and I think the next 100 videos I made sucked. And people were asking me, why do you keep doing it? I said, because eventually I'm going to get better. I got to get better. I mean, there's no ands, ifs, or buts. I know that this technology will help me connect better with the people that want to hear my message. And I think that people nowadays, they get on video and they're like, what do I say? What do I do? I need a teleprompter. I need this. You don't need any of that. Just start talking.
Yeah. Teleprompter, they'll see you do this with your eyes. If you're listening, people, I know, but I was going, your eyes go back and forth, because I used it for like 2 years ago when I started doing it. I was going to read it, and I looked at it. I was like, I could see my eyes moving back and forth as I was reading each line. And it's like, okay, you can't do that.
And I think that's exactly why I started my own podcast, is because it would help me, be a little bit more driven, more comfortable, more calm when it comes to these interviews. Whether I'm interviewing someone or someone's interviewing me, it's not. I don't make as many mistakes. I still make mistakes, but they're more, I think, controlled.
Right. Well, you want to have a mistake, because then people know it was live and not super edited. I hate when you're watching something and you go, it has a little jerk in there, right? Because they edit it out. And because I hired a guy to do some editing for the shorts I do and a bunch of other stuff I do on TikTok, to cut it up and put it in other places. And I see these little things, and he's like, dude, that's what my generation wants to see. I'm like, I don't want to see that. I want to see a smooth all the way through one take, not like multiple takes. But everybody's different. So, but what I'm talking about, right?
The younger generation, and and this is why you'll never find me on TikTok unless you put a short of me.
You'll be on there, don't you worry.
I better point to stuff, and then you can add words later.
I don't do any of that. So what I do is I just talk, a minute or whatever about. I pull these questions. Remember the nugget bucket I got to keep that we both won? Yeah. So I started putting I went to traffic and conversion in San Diego, and the lady was up there and says, this is how you get really top of TikTok. You find each month, so whatever your industry is, real estate, mortgage, whatever, you find a topic for each month, and then you search by that topic and you come up with 30 different questions. Each morning you do a question on it and you talk about it and you move on. And so when I came back after I did all those nuggets, I was like, what do I do? And then that's what I did. I started putting them in there and started pulling them. And I did it for about 50 days and it was pretty good. But there's so many different things on TikTok to make it a better video. And that's what I'm working on now, because I look at it and I'm like, I hate this, but people like it.
Yeah.
So
it's not my cup of tea. You won't find me on it. And I've had this argument with Steve Sims, and he keeps saying, you got to get on it. You got to get on it. I said, yeah, but my customers aren't on it. My
but your today customers aren't on it. What about 10 years from now?
But I'll be retired.
No, you won't. It'll be too easy. It'll be AI. You'll just have it. This is Rob. You'll be AI Rob.
I turned 53 this year. In 10 years, I don't want to be doing this.
I'm at that point where it's like, because I'm 1 year older than you, what am I going to do? I mean, in 10 years from now, I can retire. My wife will be finally getting ready to retire, and she wants to retire. But what is she going to do? Sit around at the house? No. It's boring. This is pretty easy.
You're making TikTok videos forever.
Not my wife. It'll be something else by then. But for me, I mean, they cut up one thing I get done is my Inner Edison podcast gets cut up for 58 seconds and dropped on Fridays to tell you what I do. Real estate jerky stuff gets cut up on, I think that's Monday. And then Helping the Brave, our other podcast, that gets cut up and put on there on Wednesday. So it's getting that media that I do out there for people to find it. And I'm amazed just having that out there. I've moved way up with what they do and the likes and everything else. And I find TikTok really wants to know financial stuff more than anything else. For me, old white guy, that did real well on TikTok was, I had a guy, he was a commercial guy, and he said, my 2 best business ideas are, and he's from the East Coast, and he said, name a star after somebody, you have the infinite inventory and no overhead, right? No cost. And the other thing is public storage. And they cut that up for 58 seconds. And I went over 20,000 on that one. It was like, for me, my 3rd week of doing it, that was pretty good for me. So it just depends.
Yeah. Let's talk about the nugget bucket.
Why do you want to talk about that? Because you lost? I'm just kidding. No. One thing about that is we are both, and that's why I say we're pretty much the both type of people. We do whatever we can to help everybody, right?
Well, and the thing is for the audience who wants to know or cares to know is that both Ed and I were at the Speakeasy in San Diego with Steve Sims' event, and people had to put in a name of someone that they felt helped them that those 2 days, and Ed and I ended up tying, and
which was a shock for both of us, because I just talked to people and help them. I wasn't trying to win this stupid bucket,
because at that point we didn't know anything about this nugget bucket or what we were supposed to do to earn it. We were just being ourselves, helping people, right. And so we tied on this. I didn't want to take it on the plane. Ed was local.
Actually, I was flying too.
Where are you flying?
Yeah, because my wife had something. I was in Houston prior to that. So normally I would have driven down. I said, no problem, I'll take it with me. I had a flight home also. So because I had went from San Francisco to Houston to San Diego, and then I was flying from San Diego to San Francisco again. So
I won it, but I gave it to Ed because there was no.
Because we did Rochambeau or some stupid thing. I was like, that's just ridiculous. Order another one. But
the concept of it was there was a lot of great quotes inside the bucket that you'd pull out and read, and it was a nice gesture that Steve had, and it was something that he didn't do before on his other speakeasies. But it was just, Ed and I being ourselves, helping people, which is what we do every day. So it wasn't something that we were competing in, say, hey, I'm going to outdo Ed because I was
Right.
more helpful to
We want
people.
some glass piece of shit thing with Steve's face on the bottom, and that's what we did it for. A Tiffany bucket with Steve's face on the bucket, an ice bucket. Yeah, that's
Sorry.
what we really wanted.
Sorry, Steve.
No, but it's actually bringing it back. I was shocked. He shipped it to me with all the nuggets still in there.
Mhm.
And then so for the next so many, days going forward, I read one each day in the morning. And then that kind of got me again doing video that I didn't really want to do, after that. And I did that. And then next thing you know, I'm doing so much. I looked at how much I created over the last year, and it's ridiculous how much I created over the last year.
So, we talk about, we started off this video talking about failure, and I don't say, getting that bucket was a failure, but it ended up giving you enough content that, it took you into a whole different stratosphere when it comes to, creation.
Right. And then now I use it to put all my other TikTok questions in and pull them out. I don't call it the whatever bucket. It's a place to hold them, because a lot of people plan. I like to be spontaneous, like grab it and read it and then come up with the answer, right? It's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. But other people, they want to dance or this other stupid shit. Excuse my language. That's not me. I'm not going to do that on any, because we have a couple guys. So for the listeners, if you don't remember, I own a mortgage company too. And there's people in my industry that are doing these stupid pointing fingers and all this stuff. And I'm talking local people. And it's like, you look like an idiot. Why would I go to a professional who is doing that? That's not me. I won't do that.
And talk about perfection. Nobody's perfect.
Nope.
And the thing is that the more you wait to try to make your product, service perfect, somebody's out there already making money on a shitty service, and they're improving it in steps. Just like these things. When they came out, they were crap. I'm holding an iPhone for anybody who's listening.
Yeah, that's right.
They were crap when they first came out, and then over the last 12 years, they made improvements and made updates, and so they're better, but they're never going to be perfect.
Because if they were, then they couldn't make another one.
Right. So right. It's and I tell people this every day. Your marketing is good if you wait to make it perfect. It's going to cost you so much more money.
Yeah.
Just get something out there. Let people know who you are. And the videos, they're going to suck. Who cares? Just keep doing them. You're going to get better.
Yeah. I think Steve Sim, he did a thing with Brad Lee, and Brad Lee was the one that got me to realize, because he said, just be who you are and stop trying to be somebody else. And that's what I do. I am who I am, and just like you are who you are. And that's what comes across in our stuff, and that's how it should be. But again, if you go back to my original videos and go to my YouTube, you can go back and see how bad it was. Go back to my first radio show back of August of 2018, how bad that was compared to today, right? I don't care if I say or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, I don't say it as much as back then, but I'll still say it and just keep going. I want people, I'm not going to say but I'll say occasionally, because that's just it was funny, because I was Brian Galke, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was recorded in one of his videos that he was doing for his Greg Reed event, and he's like, hey, I think I said right or too many times. I was like, holy cow, you said it like 200 times in like 12 minutes, right? Because it was just he would go back to it, and that's okay. It got him to learn what he was doing, and then he stopped doing it. And that's what video does. It puts it there so everybody can see it, and now you can get better as you get better and better.
Well, you turn it into a drinking game, and now you got everybody drunk within the first 2 minutes.
Oh man, they would be throwing up by the time you get through the first 5 minutes. No, but it's for myself. When I went to Austin, you weren't in Austin.
No.
They had us speak on stage, and it wasn't my best time on stage ever, because I hadn't been on stage in 15 years, and I wasn't talking about. You asked me about real estate and mortgages, whatever, and I can talk forever. Now you have to think about it. If there's going to be a bubble, I can tell you why not. And they had me do a documentary down in Huntington Beach regarding that through the Avengers and the real estate thing. It still hasn't come out, but but that was easy.
Mm-hmm.
But I was talking about sales and how, you've been in sales too for a while. And, people say they don't buy because they just don't know,
Right.
right? KNOW. I always thought that was the dumbest thing. So I came up with an acronym, knowledge needed to overcome waiting. That's what they don't know. Because most people don't want to make a decision except for out of pain or pleasure. And most people wait for the pain, right? That's why I'm hoping these gas prices stay all the way through November so we can fix California and they remember the pain. So I was horrible. For me, it was like the worst time I've ever been on stage, the worst whatever. But I was like, man, you were great. You were great. But I was horrible on a certain point. And then, and I'm like, okay, that's okay. I'll get better. I want to see what it says. My thing was, I said right once, and then basically was like my number. That would have been my drinking game, basically.
Well, in one of my speeches that I gave, actually, I stunk. I mean, it was bad. It was horrible. I was in Vegas speaking in front of a carpet cleaning convention, and it was 2014. And the producer of this event wanted all the speeches prior to us getting there. He wanted to know exactly what we're going to say, and I'm like, I don't prepare my speech, but he forced us to write everything down, so at least he had an idea. So I get there, and the overhead doesn't work, nothing, and I'm thinking, great, what am I supposed to do? And he goes, I want you to stand at the podium. I hate podiums. So I'm like, I get there, and everything just went blank, and I'm like, oh crap. So I had to reach in my pocket, take my notes out, and kind of read off my notes, and people stood up and clapped, and I'm like, my God, what's wrong with these people? I was horrible. I mean, I ended up getting a bunch of sales out of it, but I learned at that point that one, I don't like, prepared speeches before I get there. I don't like standing in front of podiums. So, that kind of made me adjust everything that I do. So when I give speeches now, they're more stories. There's something I can relate to. I don't have to prepare. I can get up on a stage and walk around if I have to. I'm not Greg Reed where I'm jumping up on chairs, but it's
We're on people's backs.
right. It's just I know that certain things don't work well with me, and overheads and projectors and slides, forget all that. That never worked with me. So it was just me getting up there sharing stories now work better, and so I think we each of us, anybody who wants to do stage work, has to realize what your strengths and weaknesses are.
Well, and that's with everything, with your business and everything, because I do best by talking to people. I don't want to do any paperwork. That is not me. Payroll? No, that's not me. Pay the bills? No, that's not me either. I produce. I talk to people. And I've said this a few times because Steve had us at one event. He told us, say, tell me who you are, what you do, kind of thing. And I talked to him. I was like, I have no idea anymore. I do radio. I do mortgages. I do radio. I do podcasts. I do lives. And he's like, well, you don't see it, do you? I'm like, no. He goes, you tell people stories across multiple medium, right? And that's basically what I do.
Mm-hmm.
But so basically that's what I'm good at, is helping people, because in the mortgage industry, I can help people figure out their story to get a loan. And it's the same the other way. So basically you just have to find out what you do best, whatever. I just said, basically, did you hear that?
Very great.
You have to do it, find out what you do best and only do that. And now with such fractional job opportunities out there for people to do things, I talked to somebody yesterday, they do fractional everything, but then I was going to talk to you about the thing I saw on your page, the fractional chief marketing officer.
Yeah. And we've been providing marketing services for companies for years. And, I think after the pandemic, or even during the pandemic, a lot of businesses didn't want to shell out a lot of money to have their own staff, their own, chief, whatever, whether you be your CEO, CMO, CFO, they wanted everything kind of streamlined. And so now they can hire somebody that can just come in, whether it be, 10 hours, 15 hours, a week or a month or, um, you know, just a short amount of time to help them get sped up, to get them straightened out, to get their marketing in line. And then once they can handle it on their own, then we step back and then we can either reduce our hours or, let them hire their own people. And so we started offering that. And it was funny because we had always kind of offered that, but never really put a title to it. And it just, since the pandemic, we're getting hired more and more to do that, and less the done for you stuff and more of the consulting stuff.
Well, I think it's a great idea because say you can hire one person, right? In most new businesses, they get the money together to get one person. They're still not paying themselves usually, when they start a business. So you hire that first person. Well, you want them to do all these different things. Well, they can only do one thing. Or you hire them in California and they're like, you hired me for this, and under the employer rule laws and everything, you're adding more to my plate. So now I want another this and this and this. And don't get me wrong, if you're an employee, I understand it. But as an owner of a business and building something, you're focused on building this business. You want to be great to your employees and give them what they want. But at the same time, you have to make sure that it's doing well for the company. And I think that's a lot of politicians forget that on certain sides, that, you need companies to make this world go round, to pay employees to go to work that don't want to do that or take that risk, because it's a huge risk. You're risking everything you have when you own a company and you're starting it or doing something else. You're gambling. People don't get that.
Well, and then when you add to the payroll that you have to deal with healthcare and benefits and 401ks, they're looking at bottom line. How much is this employee going to cost me? What if I just, bring on a part-timer? And then you're like, well, wait a minute. Do they have the expertise that I need? Or are they going to stick around? Hiring an outside, fractional CMO company, or a CFO or whatever, C-suite, service that you need, it makes it a lot easier.
Plus, you can say, I need only 5 hours this week of somebody, and I need a CFO this week. I need a bookkeeper this week, and I need this week, a marketing person this week. You can have those different people. And then if those people leave that company, right, they're going to replace and train somebody to get in their place. And you don't have to do that as an employer, because that's the biggest headache we go through, is training people. I mean, I have a ton of assistants that work for me, and they've all been trained. I'm going to have one going out on maternity, which is her right and everything. And I'm not coming across negative on that, but it does affect me. So I got to fill in while she's gone. It's not like it's not an important position, or it's a MA or a nurse, or you can add a new nurse in there. It's somebody that is going to come in, and then I got to train somebody else to take her while she's gone. But then when she comes back, that person has to leave.
It makes it a lot easier for, the employer or the business. And granted, sometimes I look at it and go, well, that's a short-term gig. Do I really want to do it? And here's my philosophy: is if I can help them, they're going to either, one, be more inclined to hire me back or refer me. And that helps grow my business as well. Or they're going to hire us to maybe do some extra work that they didn't think of before. So, are all of them worth taking on? No, you got to have to, pick and choose which ones that are going to work for you. But I think, as an entrepreneur, you're going to have to do that anyway.
Yeah, I agree. You have all these decisions you have to make as a business owner, entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it. Everybody's like, I'm always thinking. Occasionally you don't sleep because you got all these things. What am I going to do? How am I going to change this? How am I going to, where if you just, like my wife, click, phone's done, right? She's a nurse at Kaiser and management. When I'm off, I'm off. Mm-hmm. Yes, but that's how you do it. That's not, I couldn't do that. I did that in the Navy and that didn't work for me.
Yeah. What I've discovered is that, with social media, with everything that we do with our phones, we're always connected. And sometimes it makes it hard to put that connection down. So I've actually reduced some of my hours where I'm available at all to anybody. I write a lot of books for myself and my clients. And if I'm constantly answering the phone, I can't get the other stuff done.
Yeah.
So, it just, you know, we have to, I think we have to look at our time and see how much we're putting in where and when, and how much we're charging. And if we're spending too much time on the phone, we gotta cut back.
Yeah. I have a lady that does a lot of stuff she owns an advertising company, and she's on my radio show, and she's complaining about business. And I said, well, if you came to one of our Steve Sims event, first thing he'd tell you to do is double your prices and go from there. And she looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, no, you're doing it for too cheap is the problem. If you they don't, the people you're working for don't understand the value you're giving them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, like, that's the problem. People don't realize the value you're giving them. I had a client yesterday that I said, hey, I'll give you a call back around 11. I got to do radio in the morning, brand new client. Right. And then I had my assistant call and do some other stuff in between there. So when I would talk to them, well, I was late. I said around 11, ended up being about, because sometimes you have someone you can't get off the phone. I'm sorry, I have to go, sir. You're over my time. It's not going to work. And then she called in complaining that if this is how you do business, I don't want to work with you. Well, if you're going to come in, call them back and complain that I didn't call you at it when I said around 11 because I'm on this, I don't know what it's going to be. I don't want to work with you. Because when something seriously really happens, you're really going to be irate. If you're irate because I didn't call you back at other clients are like, oh, I totally understand, because they have the same thing happen to them. I understand people's time is very important, just like my time is important. I understand that and I get that, but things happen in life right now. When we're doing more with less people, less employees, because there's 11 million jobs out there, and it's just like nobody wants to work right now.
Yeah, I just every time I get on LinkedIn, I see this whole line of companies who are hiring, and there's thousands of them, and I'm thinking, okay, what's the problem? And some of them are offering these grand bonuses, $1,000 sign-on bonus, $3,000, and I'm thinking, okay, why can't they get people? What's going on? And people just, I don't know if people don't want to work or what the deal is, but I know even around here, they run these ads and kids apply and they're like part-time, and they're like, wait, what? Part-time? But
because they don't want to do benefits.
Yeah.
Right. You can have 2 part-time employees, and then you have to do benefits, and it saves money. But I give I'm a mortgage company. Of course, we're going to get business. I can't talk. Benefits and 401ks, that kind of stuff, matching to a certain point, profit sharing. Just that's how you need to get people in the door these days. But if you look at right now, all these mortgage companies are going to be laying off huge amount of people, because the fact that they hired all these people during the 2 years that the rates were so low.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a problem. You should have went contract like I did. Then it doesn't matter. All those extra processors, all the extra people, they don't want to work for a company. That's why they're contract processors.
Well, I think the 2 industries right now that are going to see some major changes is, your mortgage industry and the auto industry. They can't keep any autos on the market, and the new and used car market. I mean, they're selling, well, cars and houses for thousands of dollars more than what they're worth. And I understand, banks are looking at it going, well, we can't lend you more money because it's that house or car is not even worth that.
Well, it's all relative. A house is worth what someone's willing to pay for it, just like a vehicle. It's like I bought my 19 Ford F-250 for $43,000. It was an XLT, right? No big deal. Almost 2 years later, this guy I bought it from, he has the dealership here, and he goes, I'll buy that from you for $60,000.
Wow.
Yeah. That's how bad diesel's more wanted. And now freaking with the diesel prices right now, it's ridiculous. I can't even fill up 19 gallons in my truck. It shuts off. Luckily, I only work 1.5 miles from my house.
So. You're giving mortgages on Phillips for a car.
Yeah, it's just really bad. But this is how things in life happens. Mm-hmm. This is why it's important to, be who you are. And I'm going to throw a little voting thing in here and vote policies and not personalities or emotions.
Right.
You have to vote and do things that you look at the policy, not so much the emotion. And because when you do emotion stuff, even when you make a decision in business emotionally, it always going to bite you in the butt.
Yeah.
And this is basically what most people did when they voted this last time. They it was not for Trump or for Trump. I don't care where you are, and I say this on my radio show. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or independent. Most of us are in the middle. That's how we are. It's the outside fringes that are the crazies.
So. It was all feelings based, and to me, every time feelings are involved, somebody gets triggered. And the whole mess with the whole economic impact payments that people got. Oh, it's screwing up everybody's taxes and refunds, and because everybody's hoping to get the same amount they got last year, forgetting that they got these economic impact payments that were supposed to be free, but government's taking them all back.
Yeah. And then in California, they want to give you a gas card.
I saw that.
Don't give us back our record surplus that you had of budget, right? That they have a surplus of money. That's because they taxed everybody so much. Why don't you just give that money back to the people so they can have no, this is how we can go forward. But anyway, I don't want to keep going because we'll go on
lower
forever.
The gas prices.
Well, the problem with California is we have our own special blend. That's why, and only 3 refineries. One of them's always down for repair. So figure that one out. But my biggest problem is, again, feelings. People are like, when a crisis like this happens, they look at like the gas industry, right? You guys are gouging everybody now. Mm-hmm. I look at the beef industry. You're gouging everybody now. Not the fact that the cost went up because of the petroleum that's in everything they deal with, getting that from here to market, from market to here to cut it, everything that's needed for all that. I'm so tired of, again, we're kind of getting off the subject, I guess, but basically be who you are is the subject today. I guess that's the theme through the whole thing.
If you can't afford gas, go buy an EV.
No, don't buy an EV, because what I would do before you buy an EV is research what they have to do to make the batteries. If that information really got out there, I saw this island in China, right, that they had showed. I don't know if it was you or somebody posted it, this picture. And it's a beautiful, right by the water, and there's just huge holes down the middle of it, so close, and that's how they're getting all the rare earth minerals. You have to destroy
so much land just to get the lithium, and the batteries cost on average $15,000 just to replace. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's like everybody talks about solar here in California for your house. It has to go on when you build a house in California. The problem is on all the new houses, they have to put it. They don't include it in the cost of the house. They have to add it. So you have to buy it or you have to release it. It's not. I thought they would include it in the value of the house, but no.
No. And then when the electric rig goes down in California, you can't drive your EVs anyway.
Well, you have 2 choices. You can either use your air conditioning or charge your EV. You don't have it. That's your only choice, because it does go down in the afternoon.
Oh, the joys of living in California.
Well, it's better than what I saw in Texas recently with all the golf ball hell and tornadoes. So every place has their issues. We don't have weather issues. We have politician issues. So
yeah, I live in Pennsylvania, so we're not too much better.
Rob, I appreciate you being on the show today. I know we kind of we've talked a little bit about marketing, a little bit about being who you are, video, that kind of stuff, and fractional CMOs. Anything else you want to add before we go today?
People, just be yourself. I mean, it's too hard to copy someone else, so just be yourself.
How do they find you?
How do they find me?
Or do you want to be found?
They can go to my website. It's anspachmedia.com, ANSPACH media. You know how to spell media.
.com.
Yeah, that's right. Not hard.
Yeah, not hard at all.
Can't find me on Facebook, but I'm kind of maxed out on friends. They can find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah, you have the max. You got 5,000.
Yeah, well, I got rid of about 30 this morning, so I'm a little. I guess I can make friends with 30 more people from your show.
I have. Thanks, appreciate it. They'll really be happy about that. The 35 people who are listening. The issue that what's funny, because like you were talking about friends on Facebook before we go. One last thing is, it's amazing how many people want to be your friend, right? But you have no idea who they are. And I got, everybody's like, just hit him and say yes. So you fill up to 5,000. I'm like, I don't want to do that, because I look at these people as like this one lady I keep getting rid of. And it's like Steve Sims says, why do these hot Asian women want me? Right. And it's like, I look at it, if you got just pictures of you and something, you're not going to be on my friends list, because next thing I know, I'm going to see some marketing stuff through and I don't want that. Or the people who are doing the cryptocurrency or the Forex trade, I don't want to be bombarded. Hey, I got a side gig for you. I don't need your side gig. Right. Yeah. If you want to understand certain things that I do, ask to be a friend or just follow me on my other Facebook pages.
But if they didn't do all those things to me, they wouldn't end up in my Rob versus books.
That's right. Yeah. So that's why you want everybody on there. So gotcha. There's the difference.
But come on, join.
All right. So if you want to give him a hard time, just go find him on Facebook and join him and tell him how he's wrong. Yeah. Rob, thanks so much for being here today. And I want to thank everybody for listening and following us. And if you haven't yet, so please subscribe. And again, Rob, thanks so much for being here today.
All right. Thanks. See you.